Your love keeps me going. Happy Monday, everyone. Donald Trump, clapping for the day. They can't hear you. So Donald Trump held his rally last night at Madison Square Garden. Why on a Sunday? Well, unlike Democrats, they had to go to work on Monday. MSNBC is getting called out for splicing in Nazi images to video of Sunday's Trump rally. They were also criticized for using clips from the Joker, but that turned out to be an unedited Kamala interview. Comedian Tony Hinchcliffe is under fire for joking that Puerto Rico is a floating island of garbage, upsetting New Yorkers who said, "I thought we were the floating island of garbage." Yeah, get in line, Puerto Rico! Trump said if he's reelected, he'll cover the costs of his administration's transition. Kamala responded saying if he hires Venezuelan gang members, we'll also cover their transition. In an appeal to young men, AOC and Tim Walz played Madden football online this weekend. They would have played Call of Duty, but Walz kept trying to run. At one point, their stream had fewer than 10,000 viewers. Hell, my stream beats that, and that's when I write my name in the snow. Yeah. A group supporting Kamala Harris released a bizarre ad showing a young man pleasuring himself while watching porn on his phone. Well, at least they finally found some guys who were pulling for Kamala. And finally, a new study suggests that very masculine men are at a higher risk for having heart problems. They say the most masculine men... Thank you. Thank you. No acting classes. All right, so Trump is, by most accounts, leading in the polls. Suddenly, Hispanics are calling voting Republican mucho caliente, which in English translates to very hot, or Greg Gutfeld. The Jewish vote may go more Republican than any time since Ronald Reagan, which is weird since Trump is Hitler. African Americans are excited to vote for Trump, and not just this one. And a series of so-called conservatives have either been relegated to the nut house or revealed themselves as self-centered phonies. Exhibit A, the Washington Post conservative columnist Jennifer Rubin. Rubin's a longtime WAPO columnist who's claimed to be conservative for years. But even for years before, she was anything but. As a labor lawyer for decades, she was described as straight-ahead Hollywood lib. Still with great fanfare, the Post welcomed her aboard as their token righty, a female conservative. It was like finding a BLM member who's into Dave Matthews. So here's this Post vaunted conservative speaking on MSNBC.
The person who is incoherent and unable to string together a sentence is not President Biden, it's former President Trump. We have an entire political party that is devoted to a criminal defendant, someone who tried to overthrow our democracy. We have a party that has betrayed America. I think it's malpractice for the journalistic troops not to begin asking questions about Trump's sanity, his mental and emotional status. He sounds nuts.
Yep. She's a conservative. And I'm Lizzo's late-night booty call. Could be. Once again, the Donald Trump effect has exposed another lying fraud. Last week, Rubin took to her X account to support LA Times editorial board members who resigned because that paper wouldn't endorse Kamala. Brava, Rubin writes in response to one woman quitting. That is courage, and shame on her boss for not joining her. Bravo, all respect, she says to another, and then added, where are the rest of them? Now, apparently, self-awareness is not Rubin's strong point, because literally, as Rubin was writing that, her own paper was also refusing to endorse Kamala, while they're still signing Rubin's paychecks, which clearly she doesn't spend on hair and makeup. But maybe she doesn't even read that rag, the one that she works and writes for. So now both the editorial board and its union members at WAPO revolted. But what of the revolting Rubin, who shamed LA Times writers for not quitting? Where is her own resignation letter, you googly-eyed snaggleface? Or does playing fake conservative pay too well? But hey, if you resigned, I'm sure there's room for you at the oats-filled trough at The View. But we know she won't. This woman is about as authentic as the meat at Arby's. But it's not just about Rubin, who in truth really doesn't matter. Fact is, Trump is forcing all these people into showing who they really are. From fakes like Rubin to Democrat operatives at the LA Times and the Washington Post posing as journalists. It's like Trump flipped on the light in the kitchen at 2 in the morning and all these cockroaches went scurrying every which way. Although over at CNN, Captain Poppin' Fresh pulls out a new phrase.
The overarching story here is about a concern that billionaires like Bezos might be rolling over and appeasing Donald Trump, even before the election day actually rolls around. This is known by some scholars as anticipatory obedience, the idea that some people obey in advance to curry favor with aspiring authoritarians.
Somebody has Wikipedia. Anticipatory obedience? Sounds like Stelter when he finds a Big Mac on the street. Trump, you see, is like political truth serum. All those people who spent years saying their journalism is purely objective now come out enraged that their office didn't pick a side. But while all this nonsense was going on, Trump was working harder than Joy Behar's flea and tick collar. Did a 3-hour interview with Rogan on Friday. Just imagine either Joe or Kamala doing that. 3 hours? That's how long it takes Joe to empty his bladder, and that's with a visiting angel milking him. Sorry. I don't even know if that's how it works. It's also how long it would take Kamala to answer a yes or no question. She's about as quick on her feet as Daniel Day-Lewis in My Left Foot. Trump also did a rally here in Manhattan, a city bluer than a Smurf's balls on prom night, where noted white supremacists, the New York Knicks, played tonight. Must have been hard to see under all those hoods. But much to MSNBC's sadness, no Nazis. If they want to hear death to the Jews, they'll have to take the subway uptown to the Columbia campus. But inside the arena, there's no rage. The vibe was celebratory. The Trump effect once again showing the country who people really are. They're making America great again, while Kamala's cronies are making updates to their resumes. I hear they're hiring at McDonald's. Maybe the Veet can put in a good word for you. Let's welcome He brings the thunder, and his tailor is Stevie Wonder. Host of Fox News Saturday Night, Jimmy Fallon. After curtain and shower, he's my third favorite Rod. Former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich. She plans on serving soup to trick-or-treaters. New York Times best-selling author, Fox News contributor, Cat Tip. And he once got the second base with the Statue of Liberty. New York Times best-selling author, comedian, and former Jimmy. There
we go.
That's all I got. You know, I do want to, it is kind of amazing that Jennifer Rubin did not have the foresight to see the position she puts herself in.
Yeah.
Whenever you dare somebody to resign, without fail, it's going to be posed to you.
That's what's so magical about this is it happened within like 24 hours. You know what I
Yes.
mean? But this is what's going on with the media, and I love this so much. They know they're losing, okay, because the optics tell the story. Trump spent Sunday in a sold-out Madison Square Garden. Kamala was at church, and you can't miss her at church because she's the only one who goes up for wine a second time. You know what I mean? But even funnier, you know what just happened to me as I was looking at you and laughing? I saw myself in the monitor. I look like a Me Too'd magician.
You do.
I was like having a moment. It was like, oh, it's nice to see Greg again.
Yeah.
I look like David Copperfield.
Yeah.
You know? Not good.
You always got something up your sleeve.
Hey, girl.
All right, Rod, welcome back. It's been a couple of years. You look fantastic.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. You were there. No,
Yes.
let's save that for later.
Right, I was there.
Yeah, you were at the rally. How do you think any journalist can claim objectivity and then be upset if their own paper of record, whatever, doesn't choose a side?
You know, I know this is a funny show, and you're so funny, and boy, he's so funny, and it's a great show.
Thank you.
If I can just take a moment just to be somewhat serious, I was at that event. I didn't see a single Nazi.
Yeah.
What I saw were white people and black people and Hispanics and Asian Americans. I saw old and young, happy people, excited, wearing MAGA hats and flags on their T-shirts, and Trump's, what do you call that?
What?
I have one of those.
A hat?
No, mugshot.
Mugshot.
I have one myself.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
You have you considered selling any shirts with your mugshot?
I've thought about it, but you know what? It kind of brings up bad memories. And let me just say to your audience, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And the people of Illinois never raised their taxes.
Yes, that is true. That's all that matters.
But, Greg, it was magical last night. It was really exciting. And you know what I saw among those people were my voters, Democratic voters. I was a twice-elected Democratic governor from Illinois, first governor. They should have put me in jail for this, for endorsing Obama. But Trump is changing America. It's a political realignment. It's very exciting. This new Republican Party is embracing working people, everyday people, the people who are the forgotten Americans and the silent majority. And that's why he's going to win by a big margin.
Kat, did you learn a lesson here? Never demand somebody to resign. Is that kind of what it's like? The idea, like, how could she not see that she should resign? She should have resigned already.
I've definitely demanded people resign, but it's definitely situations that I'm not in.
Yes.
You know, like very powerful government officials where that's why I don't understand not having the foresight of that. You're in the exact same position that could potentially happen to you. At the very least, she should have waited a little bit.
Right.
Wait a little bit, but she couldn't do that. It's so remarkable, and I can't believe. I mean, she's just going to chill, right?
Yeah,
she's not going to address.
She's going to pretend it didn't happen. She's been wrong on so many things, and she just moves on. I think she's getting paid by somebody else.
It's so weird how often she's wrong and but the moral high ground, the performative thing, I don't understand how that's so fun for you. You know, like it's okay to be wrong sometimes. You just admit it. She can't do that.
No.
She physically can't do that. Where is your resignation? Like somebody, if she was in my real life, I would be asking her about this.
Yes.
You know, I'd be like, hey, like before you come to brunch, like, are you embarrassed?
Yes. And also, you know, do something about the hair.
Not everybody wants to clip theirs in every day like I do.
Yeah. Tyrus, thoughts?
Moral turpitude. Yep, I remember that from the Porky's movie. Moral turpitude. Beulah ball breaker over here. You have to have integrity to begin with. And when you're playing a character, she was a conservative. You know, it's like the conservatives on The View. You know, like, you guys need to spend an afternoon with Jessica and Harold because they fight on principle. But when they're wrong, they're the first ones to admit they're wrong. This isn't about that. This isn't what this media is about anymore. She just assumed that her paper would fall in line with the virtue signaling and the team. But because she never expected that. So when they didn't endorse him, it's not going to be, well, I resign. So I have to stay and fight, because our paper's being taken over by Nazis. So she wins no matter what, because they're not really playing in a game. They just go with whatever one is saying. If the things switch tomorrow, don't be surprised when this election's over that all of a sudden that she's reborn and goes after the other side. That's what they do. They have no moral turpitude. So she's 1,000% not going to resign because she's above it. She's part of the team. She has to stay here. What she's going to do is try to find people to come forward with stories to take down Bezos. That's what she'll do.
Also, just quick prediction. I don't think that because of this now Trump is gonna be BFFs with the Washington Post.
No.
A lot of people are saying that's why they're doing it. I don't see that.
Yeah, that was stupid. Like their obedience.
I do not
It's too hard
see
for
that
them to say this. How many weeks have I been saying this isn't close? They getting in line so at least the egg on their face is poached, opposed to the raw dripping that's going to be on everyone else's.
All right, we got to move on. Up next, the Dems' obsession with Nazi aggression. They refuse to scrap the Hitler crap. Trump's massive MAGA rally at Madison Square Garden is driving libs insane. First, check out MSNBC. While the rally's going on, they ran this report.
That jamboree happening right now, you see it there on your screen, in that place is particularly chilling because in 1939, more than 20,000 supporters of a different fascist leader, Adolf Hitler, packed the garden.
Oh, how dare you call it a jamboree? But that's the media. But what are people actually running for office? The people who claim to want to lead all of America. Well, they're calling you Nazis. Let's turn to our tampon-loving Tim. Hit it, Nora.
Donald Trump's got this big rally going at Madison Square Garden. There's a direct parallel to a big rally that happened in the mid-1930s at Madison Square Garden. And don't think that he doesn't know for 1 second exactly what they're doing there.
Okay, Heil Mary. Shout out to Scott Adams. Heil Mary is his new name. But don't think for 1 second Trump doesn't know what he's doing there. I agree. He knows he's at a rally a week before the election at the same place Bill Clinton held a rally, where Billy Joel played 100 nights, where the Knicks play. The question is, do you know what you're doing? You're branding tens of thousands of people Nazis. Would you do that if you thought you were winning hearts and minds? Would you do that if you thought it would help matters after the election, no matter who wins or loses? Instead, you repeat the most obvious lie, well, since you called yourself a man. Since there was a huge crowd for Trump and there was one for Hitler, oh, they're no different. So everyone who attended Sunday's rally is a Nazi. Do Trump and his pirate ship look like Nazis to you?
You love the country. I love the country. We want to take it back. I could be right now on the most beautiful beach in the world. I could be at Turnberry in Scotland. I own it. I could be anywhere. I got that greatest. I don't have to be here, but I would much rather be at Madison Square Garden with you.
We're still that country where we will look our children in the eye and mean it when we tell them, you get ahead in the United States with your own hard work, your own commitment, your own dedication, and that you know what? You are free to speak your mind at every step of the way. That is the American dream.
I don't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me. This is not the party anymore of Martin Luther King, of Robert Kennedy, of John Kennedy. That was the party of peace.
America's just not just going to be great. America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing.
What a lineup. Can't get better than that. But according to Waltz and all those bozos at MSNBC, these people are Nazis, and anyone who supports them are also Nazis. But since there are so many Nazis to choose from, maybe Waltz can do us a favor and tell us who the Nazis aren't. Were they the people who created a snitch line to narc on your neighbors during COVID? Were they the people who made it easier for kids to get experimental harmful surgeries and drugs to transition? Were they the people who let their cities burn during riots and who lied about military service to gain political status? I wouldn't say that makes you a Nazi. It just makes you Tim Waltz. I'll let you decide what's worse, okay? But you were there. Anything stand out that was particularly Aryan in nature?
No, I thought the speeches were great. I thought Tucker Carlson in particular gave a great speech.
Yeah.
I wanted to give him a standing ovation, but there was a woman in front of me and I didn't disrupt her chair.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a point, though, historic point. I don't recommend 8 years in prison for anybody who didn't break a law. I mean, I had those years. One advantage is you get the catch up on your reading.
Yeah.
And I read a lot. And I think about that Madison Square Garden rally yesterday, and I think of one that happened in 1912 when Teddy Roosevelt, a lot like Trump, a real fighter, who weeks before had been shot like Trump and stood up to the gunman. And then closing out his campaign, he came right there to Madison Square Garden and had a huge rally. And like Trump, he took on the establishment. I was thinking about that yesterday, and I think about President Trump, and I think about the movement he's leading. And it's very similar to what Roosevelt was about, very similar to what a lot of Democratic leaders were about. And it was appropriate that Robert Kennedy's son should be there, because as a kid growing up, Bobby Kennedy was one of my heroes. And I'll always remember the day when his father was shot and killed. And the fact that he now is supporting Trump and this new politics that's going on, I think promises a real bright future for America. And that was a very optimistic rally yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think you caught a little of that with your video.
So you're saying Teddy Roosevelt was a Nazi. Very interesting, Rod. Wow. I know. I didn't see that coming either. Kat, if you're winning, do you call people Nazis? I mean...
Yeah, it's what they fall back on. You know who's got to really hate this?
Who?
Hitler.
Thank you.
Because Hitler did a lot of, obviously, just truly horrific, monstrous. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, to be compared to him, you don't really have to try that hard,
no.
You know? Like, think of how the Nazis must feel.
Yes.
Again, also horrific. You got to really devote your life to hatred. Mm-hmm. Just irrational, unbridled, just cold-hearted hatred. Now you get to get called a Nazi for having a venue in common?
Yes, it's not right. You know what it is? It's stolen Nazi valor.
I mean, just think, would you ever have thought prior to, I don't know what, so circa 2015, that you would ever be bored by hearing someone call someone else a Nazi?
Yeah.
Or Hitler? To be like, oh, give this again?
Yeah.
It's become like, okay, yawn, because it's been almost a decade now of this same thing over and over again. At a certain time, people are going to tune it out, and I feel like that time was years ago.
Yeah, you look like you're going to explode, Tyrus.
Well, what bothers me is Madison Square Garden was opened in 1968.
Yeah.
Not even the same building. And I don't think they have an understanding of the English language, because parallel means something that is the same thing. And if you're in two different buildings, I'm not parallel. When Mr. Garrison, I know you guys call him Waltz, but to me, he's Mr. Garrison. When Mr. Garrison, who's a football coach of the highest order, just ask him, he'll tell you, plays 0-0 to AOC in Madden, I think that's all we need to know. My favorite part of the rally was President Trump putting over his wife's book. I know that was difficult for him to give her the moment, but he had to acknowledge the fact that he even said that his biggest fear was that she said something bad about him. So he is sensitive.
Yeah.
He's just for the right things.
Right.
His wife talking bothers him. MSNBC talking doesn't bother him. But why they were allowed to run a picture calling a group of Americans Nazis and still allowed to report the so-called news is beyond my scope.
Yeah.
Like, where's the sanctions? Where's someone stepping in and saying something? Again, I go back to, what's your argument, Tyrus? Wrong building.
Yeah, you know, Jimmy, it was the weekend, so when you're Uber driving, did you pick up any Nazis on the way to or from Madison Square Garden?
You know, the funny thing is, everyone in this town hails you like a Nazi. So, you know.
That's going to be clipped, and it's go, Fox audience applauds Nazi salute.
Way to go, you guys. Way to go. You know, the irony of Waltz calling us Nazis is he's only on the ticket because they couldn't nominate the Jewish governor of Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And it's like, to build on Tyrus's point about it not being the same building, think about the Trump-Hitler comparison as a whole, okay? I don't know that Hitler would have been as supportive if his daughter converted to Judaism.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not the best social studies teacher, but you can search the internet. I did. There's not a lot of Hitler comedy performances out there,
No,
you know,
no.
like the Al Smith dinner. But this is the old adage of comedy. You know how they say you don't open with your closer because if the joke is that far out there, how are you going to follow it, you know, an hour later? Well, it's night one of the last week of the election, and they've opened with Nazis.
Yeah.
So they have nowhere to go.
Yeah,
You know?
it's got to be something worse. I don't know what it is.
That's what it's going to be.
Genghis Khan.
Yeah, they're going to go to Marvelville. That's what they're going to do. But I just like watching Tim Waltz speak because Tim Waltz, like I grew up on Long Island. Tim Waltz has the energy of that one priest that keeps getting transferred to another parish for whatever reason. And like, I'm not trying to go there, but every time he speaks, I just thank God I wasn't a cute altar boy.
I have no idea what he's referring to. Up next, a Kamala fan goes wild and screams at a child. They're losing the race, so why not take it out on a baby's face? You want a crystallized version of the Democrats right now? Here's a Harris supporter who was caught on camera screaming into a toddler's face outside Kamala's Houston rally on Friday. Roll it, Bertha.
Wild.
Well, that young woman certainly has a future at Planned Parenthood. Let's watch it again. Wow, what did that kid do to deserve that? Yeah. But good on the other bystanders who tried to get the unhinged woman away from the toddler and her father. I haven't seen white women this enraged since I quit the Chippendales. I know. Get rid of that photo. That's in the past. Kat, you know, I don't think it's a good look yelling at a baby.
No, everybody, it's actually unheard of. Everyone not only knows that you can't talk to a baby, but you can't even talk about a baby unless you're going to add LOL after.
Yes. She was.
You have to, like, if someone's baby's, like, maybe not the best looking baby. See, look how I just said that.
Yeah.
You have to not really say it and, like, whisper it.
Yeah.
So to go there and be talking trash to a baby's face.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's truly, you don't know anything about society.
No, you don't. All the barriers have come down, Tyrus. You can now get in a baby's face and tell him what's what.
Well, you can get in a baby's face when it's yours, or allegedly yours. But the bigger issue here is she's human trash, okay?
Yeah.
The sister who stepped in was gold.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think she chilled out real quick. But the bigger issue is here, and I'm sorry, as a father, why would you have your child there in the first place?
Right.
With your little microphone moment to one up the Dems? outside their whole event more important than your child's safety. I wouldn't have my kids there. So, you know, it shouldn't have happened. But, Dad, you should not have your child in that situation. The world can wait. That's why they have your little iPhone, and you could do it from your living room if you don't have a sitter before you go down to antagonize the left. Have some common sense. Like, I'm sorry. As a dad, he's trash. Don't put your kid in that situation.
Two villains in this story. Jimmy, Michael Malice came up with a great phrase. I think they're called awfuls, the affluent white female lib. I think we found the queen.
Oh, yeah. Every one of them. The only thing I would add to your point, though, Ty, is in this instance, it's okay to have the baby there because she has the same IQ as Kamala. So there's that. But stick with me. That's who these white women ultimately are. They're the most rage-filled monsters out there. Every one of these women that's calling you and me a racist is the first one to call the cops if Tyrus goes jogging in their neighborhood. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's how this game works, and that's what they're doing there. They're trying to shame people into voting Kamala, but it doesn't work anymore. It happened in 2016 to a large extent. It happened in 2020. Now the ship has sailed because Trump is pop culture cool, so they don't know what to do. And you'd be mad, too, if you showed up to a Beyonce concert and instead you got this woman giving away stuff called Freeonce, you know, because that's who Kamala is. And that's why she's yelling. She's just yelling at anybody. She wanted to see Beyonce. Beyonce wouldn't perform.
Yeah, you know, Rod, that video has been seen more than 20 million times, 19 million by me. I just play it over, and I actually did play it over and over again because I couldn't believe it. Is this just a miserable party?
You know, when I first heard of that and I saw that baby, I'm a Democrat from Chicago like Obama. I thought, I wonder if they're trying to register that baby to vote. If I could just borrow a word or two from Tyrus, your show's so liberating. That sucks. I ain't running for anything. I can talk like that.
Yeah, you can't. We'll just bleep it out. We put in clean words. All right. We shall move on. Coming up, this Michelle Despise, Trump-loving guys.